today's generation is spoiled and soft. I say that knowing that's going to make me sound like an old man and nonsense. That this generation grew up with cell phones and all the conveniences they have now. It's just what they've known. It's what they grew up with. I was born in 1958, so I'm 68 years old right now. I grew up, we didn't have cell phones, obviously. We didn't have big screen TVs. We had small TVs, a lot of times black and white when I was really young, and 3 channels. The clicker where you had to get up and change it, and it was only 3 channels. It's just the way it was. Radio was, transistor radio. And that was it. That's what we grew up with. We went outside and played most of the summer, and today's a great example. It's 96 degrees right now at, 7:30. We were near 100 or over 100 today. When I was a child and when I was young, I don't remember having air conditioning until I got married. My whole youth, we never had air conditioning in a car or in our house. And it got warm. I grew up on a farm and in an area near Omaha, Nebraska. And that's sticky and hot. And I don't remember the heat. I just don't remember it ever being an issue for me as a kid. And then we moved to Colorado where it's cooler at night, but we never had air conditioner, and we never had air-conditioned cars. We did get hot. I remember my dad, he didn't like the heat, and his answer to it was to get in the car and we'd drive to the mountains. If we had a really hot day, we'd head to the mountains and spend the afternoon up there on a weekend if it was hot. He loved taking those drives. But we didn't experience that. We didn't have air conditioning until I got older. Now I don't think I'd want to live without it. I mean, I've gotten used to it myself. But I remember visiting my grandparents. They never had air conditioning. And we went to Iowa for reunion once, and I was at that point in my mid-20s, married with some children. We went and visited, and by then I obviously had air conditioning and was used to that, but they were still sitting in this trailer. They had a trailer in the country, and it was 95 degrees and humid, and they just sat there with fans on them. I remember just dying visiting them, but that's what they were used to their whole life. And you think about it, all of our grandparents and great-grandparents dealt with no air conditioning. It's just the way they lived. Now it's commonplace for us. But wanted to bring up also another thing is cell phones. We didn't have these when I was a kid or younger, or even in my early marriage, up until, I got married in 1980. We didn't have those, and we took many a trip without having the cell phone or navigation. And I don't think people today realize there was a real fear sometimes when you took a trip and took a wrong turn, and you didn't realize it till too late, and you were lost, and all you had was paper maps. And sometimes those were hard to read, and you didn't really realize where you actually were on that map. If you had gone off track for a while, you're on this road, but you don't know how far down the road you are because there's no GPS. And so there was I got lost several times in places I wasn't familiar with when we went traveling. And there was a little bit of panic to set in. The other thing that people don't have to deal with nowadays a lot is breaking down and not having a phone. And that's what we dealt with. I remember I was a duck hunter back then, and we went duck hunting 2.5 hours from home. And we would take out early to go hunting and left at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to our spot. And down a desolate road, it was actually, at the time, it was in the 70s. And it was Last Chance, Colorado. And that's someplace between Nebraska, Kansas, and Denver. But it's not a well-traveled road. And you break down at 4 o'clock in the morning with no phone. And there's nothing to do but just sit there. There's nothing on either side of you for miles. And that's one time I did break down. Fortunately, somebody came by and was able to work it out. But that wasn't for hours. And missed my hunting trip. But, there were other times when we didn't break down, but I always wondered about it. Heading through some desolate areas through Utah or Wyoming or New Mexico, where there wasn't a gas station or a house for miles. But fortunately, those times it didn't break down. Anyway, I just wanted to point out those few things, conveniences that we take for granted nowadays, or I don't because I've done without. But I think this generation will never know what it was like to have to deal with those issues and situations, because there was a bit of excitement and uncertainty about it, but there was, that made the whole trip exciting. But there was also some fear involved and just something we don't even think about nowadays, I don't think. So anyway, just my thoughts on that, just a little something about how I think today people should remember the way it used to be, how we kind of grew up tough. Anyway, I hope you like this video. Hope to see you in the next one. My name's Dennis. Take care. Bye.